Hello, everyone, and we are back. And I wanted to go ahead and give my thoughts and kind of opinions based upon, what happened on AEW Dynamite, which, of course, they showed the all-in backstage footage from the Jack Perry and CM Punk brawl, or yeah, kind of a brawl on that one. So I'm gonna go ahead and basically stars like I feel like I had probably about the same opinion as most people going into this segment coming up for Dynamite. I was going to talk about a little bit about it beforehand, but I was thinking in my mind is like, you know what, let's wait and see what they actually do here, and then I'll kind of give my thoughts on everything. For one, I'm going to go ahead and start with the footage because honestly, I still feel like this was still not the smartest thing for them to do. Just in my own personal opinion, was to show this footage. They could have gotten this out there in some other way, shape, or form versus using it on on the actual wrestling show on Dynamite or Collision itself. But that's just how I personally felt about it initially with everything. And I did want to go over the little bit of footage because well, honestly, it kind of confirmed what most of the reports were beforehand when this first came out a long time ago. Uh, they when they did show the footage inside of there, or yeah, when they basically showed the footage, it was Jack Perry back there after his match. CM Punk comes up. There's words exchanged. We couldn't hear anything because it was security cam footage, so there was no actual audio to it. And then CM Punk shoved Jack Perry, and then got him into the guillotine. It got broken up really quickly, and then you see CM Punk yelling at someone else. You would presume it's Tony Khan at that point, but they don't necessarily show anything like that. We're only presuming that's who he was yelling at after he got pulled apart from Jack Perry at that point in time. Now, that's basically what a lot of outlets were kind of saying it was at that point. I know on Ariel Hawani's show, it was kind of given a little bit differently by CM Punk. But if, like, you were reading Sean Ross Sapp, or I think even Meltzer kind of reported this the same way as well. I know there was multiple outlets that kind of basically confirmed what the footage showed. So I don't feel like that's going to really sway somebody one way or the other of how they would feel about the situation if they, side with side with Jack Perry or they side with CM Punk, whatever on that one. I don't think that's going to actually change anyone's personal opinions on it. Now, in terms of the segment as a whole, because I do feel like in some way, shape, or form, they did do something smart here in this particular area, and I will kind of go over that as well because I felt like to a certain degree, even though they almost cut to the footage right away, they did kind of make the footage a little bit secondary to what was going on. Before they cut to the footage, that the Young Bucks talked about the incident and everything to go along with it, but also tied it into their match with FTR, bringing it back to the fact that they lost that match as well, and basically blaming them, and basically almost to a certain degree blaming them and saying it's like, oh, this was, you orchestrated this to begin with, or at least that's what I believe Nick said, or yeah, Nick Jackson said at the time. And bringing it back to the whole aspect of FTR versus the Young Bucks at Dynasty. And then so I feel like they did do a good job of actually conveying a story and making this whole incident their reason for losing the match. So they take a real life situation and bring it into kayfabe, and give a kayfabe reason why they lost, because they're heels at this point in time. So it works out to a certain degree, and also I feel like it's a good way of potentially bringing Jack Perry back into it, because they do make mention to Jack Perry as the scapegoat, which is what he's been doing in New Japan Pro Wrestling for the time being. And there's a good possibility that Perry is going to show up at Dynasty to do something about this. At least that's where, if they play off of the story that they're telling in the kayfabe sense, that would make sense for him to show up at Dynasty to help out the Young Bucks or something in that particular case. And then following up right afterwards, they cut from the Young Bucks. And now, don't get it wrong, Tony Schiavone looked like he wanted to have nothing to do with the entire situation at that point in time. Like, he had that look on his face like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Type moment. But FTR comes out right afterwards, and they cut in a passion promo about wanting to move on from the entire situation and basically giving the same thoughts as a lot of people out there, at least on the internet side. It's like, why aren't we just moving on from this? Why are we having to do this? What is like, can we just move on and do our own thing? And also bringing into an aspect that's saying, the Young Bucks used to be all about AEW, but now they're only about being EVPs at this point. So they do tie it all well into a storyline. Like, even though I don't think showing the footage was the smartest thing to do, and by the way, the only time that the footage actually airs is on the actual Dynamite television show. If you do watch the YouTube segment where they go from the Young Bucks to everything with FTR, they actually cut the footage out. It's not in there. So it only airs on the actual television show itself on that one. So honestly, like I said, like I mentioned before, I don't necessarily think it was the smartest thing to do for them to go off and, show it on their own particular television product, because, well, you're basically just giving promotion to CM Punk, who's on a different wrestling program at this point. But I do feel like they did a good job of tying it into the story leading into Dynasty between the Young Bucks and FTR for the tag titles. And honestly, I really didn't feel too I really feel indifferent about it to a certain degree. I like the little story that they're telling in this, at least in their kayfabe sense. And yeah, I mentioned before, I don't think it's going to sway someone's opinion about CM Punk or Jack Perry one way or the other to go along with it. So it is what it is. I wanted to give my own thoughts and opinions on everything. If you have your own thoughts and opinions about it as well, feel free to leave a comment down below with your own opinions on this particular situation. And yeah, with that being said, I hope you all take care, stay safe, stay healthy, and have a great rest of your day.